You are live, my friend.
Welcome to WagerTalk Today, the gold standard of sports betting shows where we talk the talk and walk the walk. It is Wednesday. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive here on college and NFL with Ralph Michaels. We're going to get a deep breakdown on West Virginia versus BYU. And then we're going to talk about week 5 trends. We got to talk about field conditions. Very, very important to look at grass and artificial turf and how does this affect the over-unders. He's got some pretty interesting numbers for you to keep in the back of your mind when you're handicapping sports. Teddy Covers is going to join us. He's going to talk Red Sox and Yankees, Boise State and Notre Dame, and we're going to play This Line Makes No Sense. Ross Benjamin is out sick today. Normally, Ross does this segment, so I'm going to try and fill those big shoes. So midweek, this is when we get ready for the weekend, so you're in the right spot. Let's get right to it with Ralph Michaels, and let's start, Ralph, with college football in this. West Virginia, BYU. Gosh, this feels like a brutal spot for West Virginia. On the road, late, couple losses. I guess my question is this already baked into the line because this just feels like a monumental task for West Virginia in this one.
Yeah, I'm looking. I didn't check. Give me 1 second. I make this my power ratings make this 12. But again,
Oh,
West
wow.
Virginia is so banged up. Again, my power rating when I start the week is legitimate team power rating without making the adjustments. So you could be without your starting quarterback Marshall, and if you do, Jalen Henderson will make his first road start ever. And Henderson was ugly last week, 7 of 18 for 39%, a 2.8 YPA. And then you look at the running backs, and last week they were also without their center. So the center should be back. They should have 2 running backs who have been very limited to come back. Now, I would actually be on West Virginia. Nico Marichal is day to day, but he really hasn't practiced well. And you figure I'd learn to turn off my ringer, and it's Prez calling me. So that makes it even worse. Thanks, Prez. I'm on
Of
WagerTalk Today.
course.
Thanks for watching. You look at West Virginia. They start the season off against Robert Morris, not a good win. They go to Ohio. You should not get outgained to a MAC team, even if it's on the road, by 179 yards with your starting quarterback. Then all of a sudden, they look to have some light. Rich Rod says, we're going to play well against Pittsburgh. They're down. They have 2 big fourth quarter drives. They end up finishing with an 85-yard edge and beating Pittsburgh at home 31-24. They go on the road, get mauled again 41-10. And then last week at home against a Utah team coming off that embarrassing loss to Texas Tech, just mauled them, running the ball 48 times, 47 times for 242 yards. And Utah put up 532 yards in that game. So the West Virginia team has rushed the ball 228 times and passed the ball 127 times. If Jalen Henderson starts this first road game, they may throw 10 passes. They're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and it's going to be a low-scoring game. So let's look at the BYU side. BYU needed to come from behind last week to beat Colorado. Again, Colorado, quite a different team than they were last year. They start the season beating Portland State, and if there ever was a game that you want to call a stat patter, it was that game. 69-0 and a 606 to 51-yard edge. They had a 550-yard edge. So when I look at BYU season-to-date stats, you basically throw that game out. Against Stanford, they did hold Stanford to 163 yards, winning 27-3. At East Carolina, a good game, but they were plus 2 turnovers. The offense was not nearly as dynamic as the 34 points they scored. And then again, last week, playing a second straight road game in some altitude, they needed to come from behind to win 24-21. Now, if I say to you, BYU is averaging 39 points a game, they're averaging 436 yards per game. The response is, again, that's a good offense. But when you take out that first game where they scored 600 yards and 69 points, and you look at who they played, BYU played Stanford. Stanford's defense is number 121. BYU played Colorado. Colorado's defense is number 121, and then they also played East Carolina. The offense numbers are good season to date, but they are not good against legitimate competition. One thing that is good is None of those teams have great offenses. So you can only look at stats and who you're playing. But what I do like about what BYU has done is they held all four opponents to a season low on offense. So while you can't compare season to date stats with these unique schedules, you can compare what those teams did against the other opponents in the average. I will say this. If Marichal was playing and he at least practices today or tomorrow, they actually may be a play for me on West Virginia. But without knowing if he's going to play, and if he is a little hobbled, he's going to be sacked. He got sacked 7 times against Pittsburgh and against Ohio. That's an offensive line you have to worry about. And again, the rush attack, 216 yards a game, 4.7 yards per carry. BYU's offense, very fake with the numbers. West Virginia's offense, very poor. West Virginia defense, couple of good games and couple of bad games, but you have to remember this, and Andy, you're well aware of this. When your offense is horrific, like they were last week with 4 major injuries on offense, your defense is on the field for so many plays that you just get worn out. And that was the case with West Virginia's defense. They gave up 28 the first half, but one of those were cheap. They really only gave up 20 points with about 250 yards in the first half last week. Marichal plays and practices. I will take those 19 points. But here, give me under 47, and I want to break out one system for you. If you are looking to back West Virginia, in the first 5 games of the season, conference away teams that are a dog of 7 or more with a total of 48 or less, so you have a decent-sized dog with a low total, they are actually 110 and 55. That is 67% against the spread with an incredible sample size and going back all the way to 2007. FYI, that also applies to Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nevada this week. So we'll see how those 4 big conference away dogs do with a low total.
Great breakdown. Keep checking the injury report. You may get an extra few points here. So let's talk NFL Week 5. And you were telling me this is really, really interesting about the totals and the surface that they play on. And this is a big, big sample of numbers, and it's very, very interesting. So let's pull up the graphic here where we're talking NFL totals. And again, we're not saying go out and blind bet this, but go over these numbers. We have to keep these in our heads when we're looking at totals. So walk through the difference here between artificial turf and grass as the season progresses.
Well, again, when you're looking at this chart, you're not going to see any wow numbers. And there's times when I have charts where there's 70% records and things like that. But the way it breaks down with the sample size going all the way back to 2015, and I do bring this often, people say, why do you choose 2015? Well, I go back to 2015 because that's when they moved the extra point back. Everything changed. Margins of victory changed. The most dynamic numbers have changed. So that's just a guide I sort of use. But look at September, guys. Artificial turf. We're talking over 500 games of sample size. Artificial turf games in September, 45% over under. That means 55% to the under, 45% over. Grass teams, just over the Mendoza line, they're actually 51.3. Why? Well, we often hear that defenses are ahead of offenses. You get more speed. You can get a better pass rush on turf. But when you look at the artificial turfs moving on, what happens when we get inclement weather and it starts raining or snowing? How many times have we seen a cornerback slip? A wide receiver knows where he's going. DBs and linebackers covering and pass coverage do not know where you're going. So again, not wow numbers, but October, November, December, January, you add them up collectively, they're over 50% over under. And the NFL as a whole, over the last 10 years, is basically a 48-52 league. 48% overs, 52% unders. So if you find a situation that has all those overs, it's something you have to pay attention to. But the one thing to take away from this chart is the grass fields, Andy. September, you see that they're 51.3% to the over. Why? Well, these NFL fields are manicured immaculately. Have been growing. They have been growing all spring, summer, and fall. The roots are awesome. You get great footing, and we've seen those go over. What happens starting October, November, December, January? The fields start to get worn out. You start to get rain. You start to get snow. You also have fields like Pittsburgh, where the Panthers sometimes play on Saturday and the Steelers play the next day. Those are things that you have to keep track of. But from October, November, December, and January, basically grass fields are 54% to the under and 46% to the over. So I'm not telling you to bet every grass game from here on out under the total, but make sure you really like it enough to withstand a sample size of over 1,000 games since 2015. That type of data is something you cannot ignore, be it you like angles and trends or not like them. This is history showing us exactly what has happened, and it continues to repeat itself season after season.
Great stuff, Ralph. So, yeah, weather gets bad and you're on grass. Yeah, make sure we're taking a look at those unders. So, listen, 312, talking about stats when the variance is a couple percent. That's the difference between a profitable and a not profitable NFL season. A few percentage points literally is the difference between profitable and not profitable. Having a 3% edge means you make money.
Think about this, Andy. I should have done this just for perspective, right? If you hit 56% with 2,000 game sample size, imagine your profit, what you would have made. Again, it's 51.7, the Mendoza line. So to have a plus 5% with that many games, you and I might be living in Aruba had we done that for every game from here on out.
Nothing would make me happier than living in Aruba with you, Ralph. That would be a dream come true.
Your wife is invited as well, by the way, just so you know.
I'll make sure she knows. So, Ralph, it's a great Wednesday. Tell everyone what you have up.
Well, again, guys, the Weekend Warrior. 3 weeks ago, it was amazing. The sales a couple weeks ago got better. Last week, even better. Andy, I have a college 5% this week, but I do want to mention it is Friday. Number 2 in college football since the start of 2024. This year, college football, 14-7. My college football 5%, 9-1, 90%. That Friday college football 5% is available right now. If you're looking at the Weekend Warrior to get all of my college football Saturday, all of my NFL Sunday, and a Monday night play in the NFL, if I do have one, number 2 NFL and college football combined since the start of 2024. College football and NFL plays rated 4% and higher, 26-8, 77%. And I will have a strong 4% teaser this week. It might even be a 5%. I'm not committing to that yet. NFL teasers, just every NFL teaser I've released, 25-6, 81%. And NFL teasers rated 4% or 5%, 9-1, 90%, and 16-2, 89%.
Great stuff, Ralph. That'll get you to Aruba real quick. Thanks very much. Ralph and the pen, everyone. Thank you very much. Guys, we know the Mendoza line isn't 500. We're talking about the Mendoza line for the over-unders. we know Mendoza wasn't hitting close to 500. We're talking about it for that particular bet. So, yes, we're very aware of what the Mendoza line actually is. Let's bring in Teddy Covers, who's pinch hitting today. Ross is out sick. Teddy, thank you so much for doing this. We're going to talk Red Sox, Yankees. We're going to talk college football. Ross normally does a segment called This Line Makes No Sense. He does a great job with it. He talks about a line. So Ross isn't here. I'm going to pitch you a line that I think makes no sense, and you tell me if I'm Andy wrong, it does make sense or not. So be prepared for this one. So,
sure. But real quick, just let me jump in about the Mendoza line because Ralph misspoke, and he meant 52.4%. He said 51.7. And he meant it's actually 52.36, but minus 110. So Ralph slightly misspoke. I understand the concern about the Mendoza line, but in sports betting, it's 52.4, not 200.
All right. Yes, you don't want to be around 200 in the sports betting. So we're going to talk Red Sox and Yankees. We were talking last night. I don't remember this as a trend, but we were watching these just low-scoring games yesterday, and we were like, why didn't we take the unders on the first games of the playoffs? And then you could have laid off the Dodgers and Reds. So a lot of unders. Is that a thing? First day first playoff games when these teams are putting out some of their best pitchers, batters come out a little flat, or was that just an anomaly yesterday?
No, I expect we'll see plenty of low-scoring games. My clients and I cashed.
Okay.
We got the first 5 under with Yankees, Red Sox. That was a no-sweat winner. 1-0 after 5. It's not unusual. I don't have the hard numbers in front of me, but in general, as soon as the playoffs start, your days a bet. There might be overs that you're going to bet, but they're in terms of ratio. I'm not looking for overs in the postseason. I'm looking for unders, and so is the market. And we saw last night that I'm looking at the total 7, 7, 7, and 6.
Yeah,
the markets know.
Well, speaking of the markets, wow. The markets do not like the Boston starting pitcher, Bello. We got Rodon for the Yankees. Yankees minus 182. Wow. And total's up a little bit, 7.5. It's a little bit higher. We got half run higher, 1.5 run higher than the 6. What's your breakdown on this matchup today?
So I'm going to start talking about starting pitching. And frankly, when it comes to postseason baseball, starting pitching is probably the least important piece of the equation. And the lines are set that way. Certainly the markets are going to react to starting pitching. And we know already going in that half these games, if not more, are going to be decided by the bullpens. That's the way it plays out in October. And that's the way I wouldn't be surprised to see this game play out. That being said, Carlos Rodon has been brilliant. He allowed 1 or 2 runs in 9 of his last 10 starts and 3 in the 10, a quality start machine. And the Yankees won for Rodon, 8-2 in those 10 games. He held opponents to an AL best 188 batting average full season. Set a career high with 18 wins. The guy's an ace. He faced the Red Sox once after the All-Star break. He allowed a grand total of 1 hit in that game, although he did walk 5. Yankees won that game by 5 runs. Although he did lose twice to Boston in June, worth noting for full season numbers, but the one most recent start was pretty darn good. Brian Bello, on the other hand, had 5 starts in September, including 1 against the Yankees. He gave up 3 or more runs in all 5 of those starts. Did not have a good closing stretch at all. That said, 2 previous starts against the Yankees in 2025, both times, 7 innings, 0 runs allowed. Aaron Judge, 2 of 21 against Bello, no dingers. Giancarlo Stanton, 2 singles in 10 at-bats against him. He's pitched at Yankee Stadium 5 times in his career. 3-1 with a 1.44 ERA in those 5 starts. So Bello's current form, nowhere near Rodon's, but his track record against the Yankees and his track record on this field is pretty freaking good. And then you hear his quote, through a translator. Quote, I feel like as soon as you step on the field, you feel the pressure from the fans, even when you're in the bullpen and you go to the mound. For me, nothing changes preparation-wise, but I feel like that extra pressure from the fans and from everybody, it gets me going. There are pressure pitchers. There are not pressure pitchers. Bello seems to be one of the guys who can handle the pressure. Of course, he's going to face a different lineup tonight than what they saw last night. Aaron Boone's probably going to put the lefties in. Ben Rice is going to start at first base, one would think. Jazz Chisholm at second, Ryan McMahon at third. So it'll be something different from last night. But last night, the Yankees had 0 walks, 13 strikeouts, 1 of 7 with runners in scoring position. Had a prime opportunity to tie or win the game in the 9th, bases loaded, nobody out, and they couldn't get a run across. Demoralizing for the home team. The Sox bullpen's fresh, all right? Only Chapman got used, and even Chapman they can use again. He needed 24 pitches to get the 4 outs last night, but he went back-to-back games in both series against the Yankees down the stretch, one in August, one in September, didn't give up a run and got a save in both second games of those back-to-backs. And what have we seen now in this wild card round? 12 series over the last 3 years. So we have some first round history. The team that wins game 1 is 10-2 in game 2 over the last 3 years. I don't want the home favorite here. I don't believe this price. The Red Sox, 9-4 in the regular season against the Yankees, 5-2 at Yankee Stadium. They won again last night, 10-4, 6-2 after last night. Who's the pressure on? All the pressure's on the Yankees here. Give me Boston at the plus price. Red Sox or pass for this bet.
Titans even throws out Red Sox minus 1.5 plus 243. Just throwing it out there. So I think you got some agreement on this game, Teddy. Let's go to Boise State and Notre Dame. I got to tell you this. So I have 2 friends that live really close to me. One Notre Dame fan, one big Ohio State fan. My Ohio State fan, he's very good at knowing his team, and he says that he loves the Ohio State team, and by the end of the season, Notre Dame terrifies him. He thinks Notre Dame is going to be like the team that he's scared of the most if everybody's healthy. So we got Notre Dame as a huge favorite here against Boise State. Big total over under 62.5. What's your take on Boise State and Notre Dame?
Yeah, so I count my openers as what I write down on Sunday night. I usually write it down around halftime of the Sunday night game. Opener for this game, I'm calling it 17.5 for Notre Dame, 64.5. So we've seen a little money for the favorite. We've seen a lot of money. And we've seen money for the under in this one. I'm not sure I agree with either one of those, to be perfectly honest. Boise had that bad opening loss at USF. They were non-competitive in defeat in that ball game. Since that time, the offense, 51, 49, and 47 points scored over team totals, over full game overs. And they faced, I'm not going to call Air Force and App State anything like Notre Dame. They faced at least two decent opponents during that span. So it's not just complete bottom feeders. It's an offense that's clicking on all cylinders. We like the quarterback, Maddox Madsen. He was pretty good last year. He's been pretty good in recent weeks. And then we look at Boise step-up games. How does Boise do when they step up in class against the elite teams? They faced Penn State in the playoffs last year. They lost 31-14. I don't think Notre Dame has the same defense like Penn State had last year. But Boise's defense got gashed in that contest. They only gave up 31, but they allowed 200 rushing, close to 200 passing. They didn't win the line of scrimmage, and the game stayed under. But that said, they were held to a pair of they held the field goals. They missed a pair. They had 13 penalties. It was not a good game for Boise against Penn State in the playoffs. That said, they faced Oregon last year. They lost that game 37-34. They led at halftime. They led in the fourth quarter. They allowed a 100-yard kick return touchdown. That game flew over the total. 2023 at Washington, they lost 56-19. Couldn't get stops. That game flew over the total. At Memphis, they lost 35-32. That game flew over the total. Versus UCLA in a bowl game, lost 35-22. That game flew over the total. Note the theme here, over with Boise and Madsen. Notre Dame, they had a pretty high-profile loss week one as well to Miami in the opener. Since that time, they hung 40 on A&M. That's a good defense. 56 on Purdue, 56 versus Arkansas. The beatdown so bad that the Razorbacks got their head coach fired. That's Pittman is not going to send any Christmas cards to Marcus Freeman and company for what they did last week on their home field. The Frosh quarterback, C.J. Carr, has been pretty darn good, too. The defense has struggled, though. Last week was better, but, we've seen some ugly performances already, and the defensive line was area of concern coming into the season. This defensive line has been pushed around. Remember, Al Golden was the defense coordinator last year. He guided them to the national championship game. Chris Ash been the defense coordinator this year. And if you want to talk about, coordinator drop-offs, it's been pretty significant, at least in this bettor's opinion. So I don't view Notre Dame's defense anywhere near what it was a year ago. I expect the Irish to get their fair share. All right. Team total 40.5, 41.5 for Notre Dame. That tells you all you need to know. The question here is how many points does Boise get against this defense? And I think the Boise side correlates with the over in this ball game. I think Boise will get enough. I like over between the Fighting Irish and the Broncos, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on Saturday.
Great breakdown from Teddy Covers. We got all around the world coming up where I'm going to give out a plus 145 on the single biggest letdown spot I think I've ever seen in all of sports. I cannot think of a bigger letdown spot in all of sports, and I'm getting plus 145 on a play. So stay tuned for that. Let's do this line makes no sense. You guys know me. I bet props. So whenever your boy starts talking spreads in NFL, look out. But I gotta do this one, Teddy. So tell me what you think. This line makes no sense. Philadelphia minus 3.5 versus the Denver Broncos. The pass defenses on paper are similar. Broncos a bit better rush defense. And I have an Eagles team that is not really winning by margin. 4-point win against Dallas. How good does that look? 3-point win against banged up Kansas City, whose leading wide receiver was Tyquan Thornton in that game, a guy who New England cut in the offseason. They get, as you well know, don't mean to bring up demons, but the luckiest cover ever against the Rams when they could have lost outright, but they definitely should have covered. And then a one-score win against Tampa, who didn't have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Baker had the bicep injuries. I get the Broncos, who they have 2 losses, but a 1-point loss at Colts. Colts probably should be 4-0 if not for the wide receiver dropping the ball in the end zone. 3-point loss at Chargers. They were winning that game with 3 minutes to go. The Eagles cannot pass the ball. They have the worst passing offense. Hurts was 0 for 8 in the second half last week. I got Philly, who's the 3rd worst yards per play on offense. Denver's 10th. Denver 8th in yards per play on defense. Philly's 18th. This line makes no sense. This should be much closer to a pick 'em. Philly's at home, so maybe I make them a -1. But over that key number of 3, this line makes no sense.
So from a powering standpoint, before Monday Night Football, I had the Eagles -5 for this game, and the markets were at 5.5. So what we've seen is a significant reaction in favor of Denver after they blew out a bad Bengals team on Monday night. All right. When we talk about Philadelphia, all right, we're not talking about box scores. Eagles could care less about box scores. Yes, they're one of the I forget the only team or the second team in NFL history to win their first 4 games while getting out-yarded in all 4 of those games. Philly doesn't care about box scores. Philly's a team that knows how to win. Denver, not so much in that regard. Their 2 victories this season, at home against Tennessee, at home against Cincinnati. That's not a who's who of good teams. All right. Say what you want about the Eagles offense, and don't tell me Philly can't pass. I watched them pass all over the field when they rallied from behind. When they needed to pass, they can pass just fine. You know, we've seen Hurts light up the scoreboard in that regard in the game against Tampa. Sure, the covers have been lucky. They had a couple of lucky covers. But the bottom line is this line could easily be higher. The markets have already significantly adjusted for Denver's success against bottom feeders. And do you trust Bo Nix traveling east again for an early start game again against a pretty good Philly defense? I'm not so sure I do. There you go. This line makes perfect sense. And in fact, it might even be short.
Damn it.
Baboom.
This is why I don't do NFL spreads. I'll stick to my props. We had a question from Adam earlier I wanted to get your thoughts on. Adam wanted to know, it's not a Wong teaser. Any consideration to teasing the Browns at +4.5 to 10.5 since the over-under is only 36.5? The line could head lower if Vikings injuries confirmed. Teddy, what do you think about teasing the Browns up to 10.5?
So you got a rookie quarterback going to be making his first career start against the Brian Flores defense. You can tease it. I ain't going there. I mean, you can. It doesn't fall into Wong, and it's a kind of game where if things go wrong for Cleveland, it could spiral. And those aren't the games I want teaser. I mean, not for me. You know, everyone makes their own betting decisions. Certainly from a teaser standpoint, there are some good opportunities out there. And I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but there's not a chance in hell I'd make that bet. Not me.
Yeah, starting rookie quarterback. Nothing's
against
off the
that
table.
defense.
Yeah,
off a bad game.
Yeah. True. And it's the Browns. You're putting your hard-earned money on the Browns and starting rookie quarterback. So, Teddy, thank you so much for jumping in and doing this last minute. Tell everyone what you have up at WagerTalk.
Sure, we'll do it again on Friday. And look, the playoff baseball has been really good. Last year we had a 10-game winning streak in the postseason. Right now I'm riding. I won last night with the easy right side. I'm 11-3 betting playoff baseball, so a pretty good run. Football's been a pretty good run of late as well. Ralph's got some amazing numbers. I might almost get to. He's talking 18-2s. Those are fantastic. 9-1s. That's unbelievable. I'm 6-2 in college and 5-2 in the NFL, and over the last 2 weeks. Is that right? I get it exact so I don't screw up. 5-2 NFL, 6-2 college. So it's pretty good. The playoffs have been pretty good. NBA's coming up. That's been pretty good. Check out the homepage, wt.buzz/TC. Let's partner up, see if we can make some money together.
Teddy, you want to stick around here? I'll do my +145. I'll do my biggest letdown spot in the history of sports. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. European golf tournament. Cameron Smith is +145 against Matthew Fitzpatrick. Is there a bigger letdown spot than the European Ryder Cup team who have been partying all week, trying to come back? This guy's going to try and play a tournament this week after winning the Ryder Cup. They spent 2 weeks over in the U.S. getting their body clocks on American time. They win on Sunday. Social media videos galore of them partying all night, Sunday and Monday. And this guy's going to try and play 4 rounds of golf. And I'm getting a completely rested Cameron Smith in wind. I cannot think of a bigger letdown spot than a golfer just coming off of his lifelong dream of winning the Ryder Cup and then trying to play a couple days after a night of partying and travel. And I get plus 145 on this.
Love it. Conceptually, is Cam Smith any good though? That's the only question. Why is he so good?
He struggled at the majors. He's coming over from the Live Tour. I think he wants to put on a show. There's multiple Live guys playing this week, but I will fade every guy on that Ryder Cup team. They might still be drunk. There's a chance they are drunk right now. So that's my biggest letdown in all of sports. So, all right. Thank you very much, Teddy Covers. Can't wait to see you again on Friday. Teddy will be joining us for Football Friday. I got a couple other spots here, Chris. Let's pull up the all around the world here. Let's do a couple of MLB plays along with this Cameron Smith plus 145. Padres and Cubs right up for the Padres. The Cubs are starting with Kittredge. Then Amanga looks like he will continue the game. The Cubs did use some bullpen arms yesterday, including Kittredge, but Amanga, give up 20 earned runs and 27.2 innings in September. That's his worst month. Meanwhile, you got Cease going for the Padres. September was arguably his best month. So we got 2 pitchers going in the opposite directions. You're getting a good price on the Padres. And Tokyo Brandon did a good job of bringing this one up yesterday. Reds and the Dodgers. Take a look at this Reds over 2.5 on the team total. It's only minus 130. Yamamoto is shaky at home. The Dodgers bullpen is really bad. Dodgers won yesterday, but the Reds put up 5 runs. So this could be just a rinse and repeat for the Reds over the team total in that series against the Dodgers. So, Cody says, golf, you golf better drunk. Yes, John Daly won the major here in Indianapolis, close to where I lived, and my buddy knows the bartender that served John Daly the night before his winning round. John Daly's been open, he was blacked out in his winning round. He doesn't even remember it. So yes, John Daly is he's the exception, not the rule. So, all right, I have one play up, guys, to tell you about. This starts in a couple hours. Jan, who does a great job with our cricket plays, he's found a play this week that works incredibly well. We cashed it already today, and we're going right back to it. There's a line that the books have completely overlooked. It's a cross-sport parlay. That starts in 2 hours. It's up for sale. It's a 3% best bet. Like I said, we've already hit this play this week, so go grab that. It's the only play we have up. Coming off a really nice win on $5 Tuesday on Contender Series. And as always, the Weekend Warrior. We put up this special just on a whim in the first weekend of NFL, and it's turned out to be one of the most popular specials. So I think we're probably going to be doing this for the foreseeable future. Pick your handicapper, and you get every football play Saturday and Sunday. You're also getting any 5% plays. It's only $49, and we're going to throw in Monday Night Football for free. So Weekend Warrior, $49, all plays, college, NFL, pick your favorite handicapper. Again, this is one of those, we run these promos, and sometimes they do okay, and then sometimes they're home runs like this one. So appreciate everyone, and it's a very, very smart way to take advantage of your favorite handicapper at a discounted price. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be back tomorrow. Yanni's going to join us, and we get to start talking UFC. We got a big UFC card tomorrow, and of course, we're going to get ready for college football, MLB playoffs, and NFL. Thank you so much for joining us. Do not forget to hit that like button. Do not forget to leave a comment below. Tell us what your best bet is for today, and don't forget to subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel and hit that bell. You get notified when all of our videos come out, when all of our shows go live. Tons of individual breakdown videos. So if you're thinking about betting on a college game, NFL, check out our channel. We probably have a breakdown on it. Thanks very much for joining us. Good luck on all your bets today. Take care.